remember the night I broke. My body was lying on the cold tiles of my kitchen floor, and the sound of my own heartbeat pounded in my ears like a war drum. I had poured myself another glass of wine to numb the emptiness, but instead I felt my chest tighten until I thought my ribs would shatter. Fear flooded my veins, yet all I could whisper was, "Where are you? Why are you silent?" I had prayed to the gods of my fathers, the stone idols that had watched over my family for generations, but they gave me nothing. No comfort, no answer, just silence. And in that silence, as the pain ripped through my body, a darker truth sank in. I was slipping away. The air felt thick, my vision blurred, and I knew death was near. But in the silence of my gods, another voice broke through the fire. Before I go further, let me pause to thank you for being here with me. If you have subscribed to this channel, you are a part of my family now. Thank you for believing in stories like this that remind us that God is still alive and still speaking. To those of you who are new or those who keep coming back but have not yet subscribed, I want to say a big thank you. I cannot wait for you to hit that subscribe button because it truly is the fuel that keeps this channel alive. Your comments, your likes, and your shares are what spread these testimonies to people who need them most. So please, do not just watch, join the conversation. Tell me your thoughts below. Now, let me take you back into my story. My name is Arvi. I am 52 years old, and I live in Montgomery, Alabama. My great-grandparents migrated here from India many years ago, carrying with them their traditions, their idols, and their rituals. Our home was a shrine of incense and prayers to gods who had never spoken. Growing up, I was taught to honor them, to bow before statues carved by hands that were long dead. By the time I reached adulthood, I had learned how to wear my faith like a garment, but deep inside, I was hollow. I built a life that looked perfect from the outside. A husband, 2 children, and a decent career. But behind closed doors, I carried an anger that never slept. I envied Christians. I would never say it aloud, but I noticed their peace, their certainty, their confidence in a God who seemed so alive. Yet I mocked them. I would tell myself, that is not our way. Our gods are ancient. They know better. But at night, when the lights went out, I wrestled with my shame. I wrestled with the fear of death, of what waited beyond this world. There were sins I never confessed, bitterness I never let go of, and secret nights when I begged my gods to prove they were real. Every time I was met with silence. And then came January 7th, 2021. That was the night my world collapsed. I had just returned home from a long day at work. My husband was away on business and the house was quiet. I remember looking at the altar in the corner of our living room, candles flickering before idols dressed in silk cloth. I knelt, I begged, I pleaded for peace, for something to fill the emptiness that had followed me for decades. But as I rose to my feet, the pain struck, sharp, heavy, merciless. My chest felt like it was caving in. I staggered to the kitchen, trying to steady myself, but the world spun out of control. My body hit the floor and the sound of glass shattering echoed in my ears. I was dying. And in that darkness, when I called upon the gods of my fathers, all I heard was silence. But then, a voice that was not theirs, a voice that would change everything.
When my body went still on that kitchen floor, I thought it was the end. But it was not the end. It was only the beginning. At first, there was nothing. No sound, no light. just a heavy weight pressing down on me as if the air itself wanted me gone. Then I felt movement, a dragging force pulling me downward. My spirit seemed to detach from my body, and before I could understand what was happening, I was swallowed into a darkness so thick it was alive. I heard it before I saw it. The screams. Endless cries echoing from every direction, voices that sounded human but were twisted with pain. My heart pounded, but it was not inside my chest anymore. It was in my throat, in my skull, in every fiber of my being. The smell of sulfur burned my nose, and with it came the stench of burning flesh. It was so sharp, so suffocating, that it made me gag even without breath. I stumbled forward, but the ground beneath me was not earth. It was hot, jagged, and shifting like broken glass set on fire. Every step cut into me, but there was no blood, only pain. Then I saw them. Souls. Countless souls, trapped in pits of fire. They clawed at the air, their faces frozen in agony, their mouths wide but unable to breathe. Some screamed my name, others begged me to help. I wanted to turn away, but invisible chains dragged me closer. "This is your place," a voice hissed. I spun around, and there it was, a creature more horrifying than words can capture. Its skin was charred black, its eyes burning like coals, its mouth stretching far too wide as it laughed at me. Behind it, more shadows moved. Grotesque, snaring figures. "You trusted the silence," one demon mocked. "You bowed to stone that never breathed," another whispered. "You are ours." Their words sliced deeper than any blade. I remembered the idols in my home, the prayers I had prayed to deaf statues, the incense I had burned year after year. I had trusted in gods who never answered, and now here I was, in the silence they left behind. I tried to call out their names. I tried to summon every chant, every prayer I had memorized since childhood. But nothing came. No power, no light, only silence. I fell to my knees. The fire around me roared louder, climbing higher, and I felt its heat lick at my skin without consuming me. That was the most horrifying part. I could feel every burn, every sting, but my body would not die. And then I noticed something worse. The souls around me, they were not strangers. Among the twisted faces, I saw one of my old friends from college, a man who had mocked Christians right alongside me. He screamed as flames wrapped around him, and when his eyes met mine, I saw recognition. "Arvi, do not stay here. It is real. It is real." His voice faded into a shriek as the fire swallowed him. My heart shattered. My mind raced. "Gods of my fathers, answer me. Please, save me." But there was no reply. Only the demon's laughter and the screams of the lost. I thought it was over. I thought my eternity was sealed. But then, in the pit of my despair, I felt it. A wind, a gentle, piercing wind cutting through the thick smoke. And then, a light. At first it was small, like a candle flickering in endless night. But it grew stronger, brighter, until it pierced the blackness around me. The demons recoiled, hissing, screeching, clawing at the air. And then I heard a voice. Not thunderous, not harsh, but firm, steady, alive. The gods of your fathers are silent, but I am the living God. The fire around me trembled. My soul trembled. I wanted to run. I wanted to fall into that light, but the chains held me. The demons pulled harder. And that is when I realized I was not alone in hell anymore.
The light grew until it wrapped itself around me. The fire that had been burning against my skin began to retreat, and the chains that had held me tightened in desperation. I could feel the demons pulling, hissing, trying to keep me bound. But the moment that voice spoke again, their grip weakened. "I am Jesus," the voice said, "and I have come for you." I lifted my eyes, and in the center of the light stood a figure I could barely look upon. His presence was like fire, but not the kind that destroys. This fire was alive, pure, holy. His eyes pierced through me, not with condemnation, but with a love that was both unbearable and irresistible. I fell to my knees, trembling. Every sin, every act of pride, every mocking word I had spoken against him came rushing back like a flood. I felt filthy, unworthy, crushed beneath the weight of my guilt. "Why me?" I whispered. "I followed other gods. I mocked you. I chose silence." And then he said the words that shattered me forever. "The gods of your fathers are silent, but I am not. I died for you. I have chosen you. You are mine." The chains snapped. The demon shrieked and scattered into the darkness. The flames vanished beneath his light. In an instant, I was lifted. Away from the pit, away from the cries, away from hell itself. The next thing I knew, I was gasping for air in a hospital bed. My daughter's hand was clutching mine, her face wet with tears. Doctors and nurses rushed around, their voices sharp and urgent, but all I could hear was the echo of his words, "You are mine." My life was never the same after that. I left behind the altar of idols in my home. I could not bow to silence anymore. I told my husband and children what I had seen, and though it shook our family to the core, the truth was undeniable. I had tasted hell, and I had heard the voice of Jesus. I began reading the Bible, something I once mocked, and every page felt alive, every word a flame, burning away the lies I had clung to for 50 years. I learned to pray, not to stone or wood, but to a living God who answered. For the first time in my life, I knew what peace felt like. The depression that had weighed me down for decades began to lift. The shame that used to suffocate me was gone. I forgave people I thought I could never forgive. My heart softened. My home changed. Even my career no longer defined me because I had discovered a purpose greater than success. But the memory of hell has never left me. It is carved into my soul as a reminder. I cannot hear a scream without remembering those lost voices. I cannot smell smoke without remembering the pits. And I cannot see an idol without remembering the silence that nearly damned me forever. That is why I'm telling you this now, because hell is real. It is not a story. It is not a symbol. It is a place where hope dies and silence reigns. But heaven is also real, and Jesus Christ is the only voice that breaks the silence. 1 second in hell taught me more than 50 years of tradition, and I will never forget this truth. Hell is the silence of every false god, but heaven is the voice of the living Christ. Friend, if you are listening to me right now, do not wait. Do not trust in silence. Do not gamble with eternity. Jesus is real. He is alive, and his hand is reaching for you even now. If he could pull me out of hell, a stubborn woman who mocked him, he can rescue you too. But the choice is yours. Now I want to ask you directly, do you believe that hell is real? And if you were to die tonight, are you sure of where you would spend eternity? Please share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what part of my story spoke to you most. And if this testimony has touched your heart, do not keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that this message can reach someone else who desperately needs it. Because you never know. Your share might save a soul from silence.